So, I think it's finally happening. The anime industry might need to sit down, pour some tea, and reconsider its grip on the throne because the Chinese century, yeah, it's kind of here. Okay, that might be a bit dramatic, but with shows like Link Click, Folk Hill of Five Elements, 2B Hero X, and now Lord of Mysteries, Donghua is no longer some obscure curiosity in your sidebar recommendations. It's serious, it's stylish, and in some cases, it's scary good. And the fact that Lord of Mysteries, yes, the greatest web novel of all time that gave us 1400 plus chapters of mystery, steampunk, and cosmic horror, now has a 30 plus minute per episode high budget animated adaptation, that should be enough to make the average seasonal anime look twice at its production committee. So, let's talk about it. Not just about this series, although, yeah, we'll definitely get into episodes 1 through 4.
And I'll also share my first impressions of episode 5. I just finished my night shift, so I'll watch the episode on my way back home.
But also, what Lord of Mysteries says about the current state of Chinese animation. Because trust me, this might be the first Donghua some people ever watch. And that's not a bad place to start. You might have noticed, Chinese animation is having kind of a moment right now. It's not just a wave, it's a build-up, it's one that's been quietly rising for years. There's more budget, more ambition, more accessibility, and now there's reach, with big streaming platforms pushing global simulcasts, multi-language subtitles, and even dubs. Although the official ones are probably still in production. And yes, Japan is still miles ahead in terms of global influence and output. But for the first time, the gap feels bridgeable. Not because China is copying anime, but because it's offering something different. Something a little weirder, a little bolder, and dare I say, less formulaic. At least when it comes to the more popular shows that do break through the great firewall. And with the Lord of Mysteries Donghua leaning into aesthetics like gothic horror, slow burn mystery, wuxia style philosophy, and a power system that requires flowcharts? Yeah, that wave feels like it just crested. Now, if you're new here, first of all, welcome to the fog. It's dark, it's mysterious, and if you listen closely, you can hear the collective sighs of thousands of readers trying to convince their friends to read this thing. Yeah, recommending Lord of Mysteries used to feel like we were performing a multi-stage sales pitch. We were just out there, in the wild, handing people 1500 chapters of Chinese bloodborne-inspired Lovecraftian fantasy fusion mystery novel with SCP-like elements in a Victorian setting and saying, "Trust me, bro, it's good." But now, finally, we have an anime. We can just say, hey, watch the first couple episodes, right?
What the fuck is going on?
What is going on?
I don't know what's going on completely. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I mean, I understand some things, but then I don't understand a lot of things.
Yeah, so, we LOTM fans we just can't win, eh? But that's kind of what makes it fun. The confusion is part of the experience. Stick with it. You'll catch up, and when you do, you'll be forever scared of coincidences, pregnant men and women, mushrooms, and monocles. Oh, and if you chose the assassin pathway as the one you'd go for if you were to ever become a Beyonder, well, to each their own, I guess. I don't judge you. Respect?
Nah, bro. See, witch means gender fluid, right? A man can be a witch too, no?
As you might have guessed already, Lord of Mysteries is set in a Victorian steampunk world where people gain supernatural powers through mystical potions and secret rituals. There are cults, there are tarot cards, there are shadowy gods and ancient pathways to power that can, and often do, drive you insane. We follow Clan Moretti, a guy who starts off broke, fatherless, and with a seemingly useless history degree. But after a bit of an identity shuffle, As in, he shoots himself in the dome and then a guy from modern China transmigrates into his body. He finds himself in the possession of a bloodied notebook, a couple of dead friends, and a lot of bad timing. He joins a Beyond organization called the Nighthawks, which is essentially just magic police, starts sniffing around the city's secrets, and realizes he's caught up in something way bigger than anyone should be on a Monday morning. Because he has his very important mystical Zoom meetings at 3 p.m. on Mondays. He doesn't have time for other stuff on Mondays. And the best part? The world feels huge, like actually huge, with political conspiracies, secret societies, SCP-esque artifact classification. It's all there, but the story keeps it grounded through Klein's perspective. Someone who's smart, skeptical, and always one bad ritual away from disaster. So, how does the anime hold up? Well, if you want to experience it yourself, then I suggest you do that first and then come back to this video. However, LOTM is just that kind of property that you won't understand that you're looking at a spoiler, and what exactly does it spoil, even if it's stared you right in the face. So anyway, episodes 1 and 2 were definitely a lot for many people. If you're an anime-only viewer, I wouldn't blame you if you felt like your head got tossed into a Lovecraftian blender. Just to recap, we were introduced to Klein, the transmigration setup, the mystery of the cursed notebook, and his sudden induction to the Nighthawks. All in just under 60 minutes. By the way, it's actually baffling to me how many people didn't know what transmigration is. Embarrassing. Now, those 2 episodes were fast. Like, we don't have time for thinking sightseeing fast. And yeah, that's one of the few things I missed, the early slice of life beats from the novel. Seeing Klein just explore, getting a feel for the city, the people, and how weird this world really is. But we got more of that stuff in episode 4, so yeah, we'll get into that. And I get it. The anime had to hit certain plot points quickly to build momentum, and they've done a solid job of keeping things coherent, even with all the compression. The visuals are stunning, the sound design is phenomenal, the lack enhancement ritual still gives me chills. And if you're wondering, wait, how does this gray fog thing work, or do corpse collectors collect corpses? Don't worry, you're supposed to be a little lost. There are actually lore breakdowns called Old Niel's Mysticism classes. They're absolutely great. The problem? Not many people know they exist, as well as the Chibi extras that were cut from the Crunchyroll release. These are all canon, by the way, and you can find all of them on the Merlin Sparrow YouTube channel. I'll put the link down in the description. Go show the guy some love and just, educate yourself if you're really interested in the world of Lord of Mysteries. More in-episode explanation wouldn't hurt, but the bones are good. The bones are good and crunchy, like... Okay, now let's talk about episode 3, because this is where it really starts to cook. Everything just felt tighter. Pacing, yes, it's still brisk, but more balanced. We're not sprinting through the explosions anymore, we're walking confidently into something bigger, like way bigger. This episode we got a better feel for how the world works, the world structure, how the Nighthawks operate, and what happens when Beyonders throw down. And just a sec, can we talk about the runtime for just a second? 30 plus minutes per episode. That's not just gorgeous, that's practically luxurious by modern anime or Donghua or TV standards when it comes to animation. You can feel the extra breathing room in the fight choreography, in the dialogue, in the transitions, even though they do still want to pack a lot of stuff. And by the way, did you see that last sequence when the whole squad got under the doll's control and then Klein had to save the day? absolutely nailed it. That scene has weight, tension, and just a sense of real danger. And again, it looks amazing. The lighting, the animation, the music cue that hits when the ritual activates, all of it feels cinematic without trying too hard. But wait, there's more. So, episode 4. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. The best episode so far, at least for me. And if it's any indication of how the studio will be approaching the rest of the story, I'm more than happy. Well, I was already very hyped for this adaptation after episode 3, but this is the episode that once again sold me on this whole thing. And I'm sorry if this segment feels a bit different from the whole video. I just want to share my raw feelings after this episode, and I don't really have a script, just some bullet points. So yeah, first of all, the pacing, just so much better now. I really like how they handled this particular episode. And if it's any indication, once again, of how they will be adapting this story going forward, I'm really happy. The art somehow is even more crisp. I really didn't believe the director when he said that, oh, the first 3 episodes are like actually the worst, not only in terms of pacing, but also in terms of the production quality, the animation, the visuals. I didn't trust him. I just thought, hey man, it's cool. You don't have to, bump yourself even more. But okay, absolute cinema. I'm just blown away. Okay, so bullet point number 3 now. The Glaze Club is finally in session. I was really upset by how they handled the first Terror Club meeting in the first episode. They skipped way too much. No internal monologue from Klein. It felt kind of, kind of thrown together really quickly just to give us an idea. Now, finally, we get the Glaze Club back in action, animated, voice acted, with the beautiful visuals. And Alger is such a beautiful baby boy. He knows way too much for his own good and is constantly bombarded with great revelations from this almighty fool who is seemingly the most ancient and powerful and mysterious god to ever be glazed by a human being. Man, I'm just really happy this is animated. The gatherings were one of the highlights of the novel, so I'm just finally. Now to the bullet point number 4. The whole structure of the episode shows so much promise for how they will handle the rest of the story this season. So they took concepts like ritualistic magic that we were supposed to learn about in the first couple episodes, because that is the thing that old Niel taught Klein like at the very beginning of his, Beyonder journey. And now they're kind of coming back to it, but using story beats from later in the series to kind of introduce them back into this story so that we don't miss out on stuff. If this is how they're going to handle the story going forward, as in combining different story beats, information, and concepts together to kind of, still give us a full experience, but also cutting corners when necessary, this really gets me excited for the series. I'm just so happy that this is animated. Anyway, bullet point number 5. Ritualistic magic is finally here. We just talked about it, but this is something that makes Lord of Mysteries special. All the rituals, the whole mysticism angle of Lord of Mysteries creates such an interesting layer to the story where almost every situation can become a deadly encounter if you're not, careful enough, if you speak ancient Hermes without a care, well, probably some ancient beings will will be attracted to you and you'll perish on the spot. So this is something that I've been waiting for. Also, bullet point number 6, we are introduced to proper low sequence Beyonder fights. They are wacky and I am here for it. These are just brawls without any rules, and the guys still don't know their abilities very well. There are very few of them. There isn't much that differentiates them from normal people, to be honest. So they're just throwing shit at each other and see what sticks. You can describe fights at lower sequences as, a drunken brawl between two extremely drunk British dudes. It's not about who hits the hardest, it's about who trips less often. So, it's a whole other dynamic. Anyway, this episode will definitely test some viewers because I believe that we are actually getting introduced to new concepts that might not resonate with some people. Some people might become even more confused about this whole gray fog thing, especially. But if you're feeling like you need more information, I highly recommend to you go watch old Niel Mysticism's classes on the Merlin Spyro YouTube channel. He translates them from Chinese to English. These are actually pretty fun, and you'll learn a lot without getting spoiled. So that's great.
So I just watched episode 5 of Lord of Mysteries, and first of all, the taste of a demoness isn't bad. Now everyone should be in on the joke, which makes me happy. Anyway, about the episode itself. Just as I thought, they are combining plot points and information from earlier in the story with story beats from later on in the story. And kind of try to play catch up with how much they skipped, with how much was cut out from, the earlier episodes. So we got introduced to the underground market. Klein got to make talismans for Melissa and Benson. And this whole thing got, stringed together with the whole Triss incident and the introduction of the Demoness sect. And despite how packed the episode is, it's still pretty easy to follow if you pay attention. It's nothing, groundbreaking. It's no rocket science. It's still pretty clear what's going on and how things connect. What might still be confusing to many people are actually beyond their abilities, because they are not properly introduced and explained in the show itself. We get the gist of it. There's a lot of show don't tell, so people kind of can intuit what is going on, but it is a shame. It is a shame that this is not properly explained in the show so far. Even despite the directors and animators' best efforts, they are fighting an uphill battle with the written word of a novel, where the author has all the time in the world to introduce all the abilities, all the information needed for you to understand what's actually going on. So, you might have to rewatch the episode a few times to really understand what is happening at each exact moment. But anyway, with how things going, it's still on track to be a great show.
So yeah, it's safe to say that I'm impressed. Lord of Mysteries isn't just a strong Donghua, it's a strong show. Period. And if this keeps up, it might be the one that pushes a whole wave of new viewers into the fog, and maybe even introduce them to a whole new world of Chinese animation. So, if you're already watching, welcome. If you're still on the fence, hop off it. It's worth it. And if you still think that Chinese animation is all janky 3D and stiff dialogue, well, it kinda is sometimes. Well, let's just say you should keep an eye on your social credit score. You might notice something funny happening to it. And look, I'm not here to tell you that Donghua is going to dethrone anime overnight. Japan's industry is still a juggernaut, and most of our weekly watch lists are proof of that. But what's happening right now with shows like Lord of Mysteries, 2B Hero X, Fog Hill of 5 Elements, link click, this is a sign that Chinese studios are finally matching vision with execution. They're not just making good-looking shows, they're making interesting shows. Stories that don't feel like they came out of the same isekai blender with a different hairstyle, and that's it. And the fact that people are tuning in from all over the world with full subtitles, even if they were dog shit at first, week after week, means it's working. If you're an anime producer in Tokyo, you might want to check your production calendar, because while you were still debating which school uniform design to reuse, the Chinese were already out there making ritualistic magic look bloody sweet, which is a fucking task. So watch out. Well then, that's it from me, folks. Like and subscribe to the channel. After all, this is a very reasonable development if you've enjoyed this video. Also, tell me in the comments which pathway you'd choose if you were in the LOTM universe. And if that's the assassin pathway, stick to it like a man. Don't let anyone lead you astray from what your heart truly wants. Oh, and maybe learn some Mandarin while you're at it. It's been Danon. Take care and have a good day. Пока.